I think my juices flow all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know as much as I know.
Right now, we've been able to stuff the stuff.
The curse is broken. NC State fans, finally. Finally.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
I mean, that's a triple play.
The Wolfpack ain't for soft. It ain't for soft people.
It's Joe Giglio, and I'm happy to be back on this NC State podcast. New name, new spot, same great thoughts, insight. I don't know. We'll tell. It's going to be a fun year. NC State basketball, NC State football. A lot of new names on the basketball side. A lot of familiar names on the football side, especially on defense. We're going to get to know all of those players as the year goes along. Obviously, we have the ACC kickoff coming up in July, about a month from now. So we'll really ramp up with some football. I actually have a conversation with Brendan Armstrong that we'll use in next week's episode of The Law of the Wolf. But for this week, I was able to sit down with Kevin Keatts, NC State men's basketball coach. We went over to Oakwood Pizza Box in downtown Raleigh on Person Street. If you haven't been to Oakwood Pizza, don't know what you're waiting for, but you need to get down there if you like pizza. Anthony Guerra has the best pizza in Raleigh, and they even have a gluten-free option, which Kevin Keatts was able to enjoy on our visit. So big shouts to Anthony. Also, Ethan Hyman, News and Observer, as a lot of you know who follow Ovius and Giglio podcast. We have a partnership with the News and Observer. Ethan is an amazing photographer and a whole lot more for the NNO, and he was able to help me put this podcast episode together while we were on site at Oakwood Pizza. You'll also note in that intro, might sound familiar, that's some rights-free music, but also those pictures, those are Ethan's pictures through the years. Again, really happy to be working with Ethan again, one of my truly great friends. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about hoops. NC State last year, they go from 11-21 the previous year to 23-11. Obviously quite a turnaround. The two biggest stars on the team were Traquavion Smith, Jarkel Joyner, their outstanding guards. Smith led the team 17.9 points per game. Jarkel had 17 points per game. In my opinion, Jarkel was the best player on the team. He was the most valuable player on the team. 60-year point guard. And I thought Kevin learned a lot going into the portal and getting Joyner. Big assist from Levi Watkins, who had coached Joyner at Ole Miss. So, remodeling his staff was a big move and helped Kevin go from 11-21 to 23-11. And also those players and getting those types of players out of the portal, older players, experienced players you're not guessing about the quality of those players. We're going to go through a lot of the new additions with Kevin Keatts. One notable exception, because we recorded this before Michael O'Connell had officially committed or signed his paperwork, I should say, the Stanford transfer. So I'll just give you the names now, because once Kevin starts rolling through them, we want to make sure we get them right, okay? So you got Jaden Taylor from Butler, obviously is 12.9 points per game last year for Butler. Had a good game against NC State as well when they played down in the Bahamas. Taylor and DJ Horn from Arizona State, in my opinion. Horn, 12.5 points per game last year at Arizona State. I think you'll see Taylor and Horn play the roles of Traquavion and Jarkel as the two lead guards. MJ Rice is a fascinating sophomore from Kansas. He's from Durham. Did not get a whole lot of time last year as a McDonald's All-American 5-star recruit. He's got that stretch 4, 3-4 type body, will guard the 3 and the 4, has a little bit more guard skills. You'll be interested to hear what Kevin has to say about Rice. O'Connell is a grad student from transfer, is a grad transfer from Stanford English. I don't know why we're not working on the English language right now. I think O'Connell's a true point. I do think he'll run a lot of the offense, initiate the offense. But I think you'll see Taylor and Horn be the primary drivers. And 2 more big guys they got, which I'm intrigued by both. Mo Diarra is from Mizzou, kind of fills in for Ibi Duwana, who had transferred out. Diarra, limited time at Missouri, but was fairly productive in those limited minutes. Missouri was an NCAA tournament team, so I think that was a nice pickup. And a fascinating one, Ben Middlebrooks, who had his best, he's from Clemson, had his best games this past season against NC State. So obviously Kevin was highly impressed with Ben Middlebrooks. So plus the returning 2 stars would be DJ Burns and Casey Morcell. We all know about Burns, the big man down low. It's going to be a challenge this offseason to get him into a little bit better shape. But I think that's the primary concern there. But I would expect him to initiate a lot of the offense out of the post. And then Morcell was a guy last year who really improved his shooting, and he became a valuable 3-and-D, as we like to say in the NBA, type piece. 11.8 points per game, and knocked down 41% of his threes. So getting Morcell back, I thought that was a really big key for NC State. He took a really big jump last year. He had 7.2 points per game in the lost season the year before, jumps up to 11 and 8 last year. It really meshed well with what Jarkel and Terquavion wanted to do. So what we'll do is I'm going to give you Kevin's interview. We sat down at Oakwood Pizza Box. You can actually catch some of those shorts on our YouTube page. Just search for Ovius and Giglio on YouTube, and you will find us. And Kevin made a pizza, and it was Ethan's idea. So I think we're going to call it Pizza with My Peeps. Check that out on our YouTube page. And of course, Oakwood Pizza Box, the best pizza in Raleigh. Actually, it's the best pizza in North Carolina. I mean, you want to come at me with some others, that's fine. But check them out, oakwoodpizzabox.com. They're open Wednesdays and Thursdays for dinner. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, open for lunch and dinner. Again, get yourself down to Person Street. It's right across the street from the Krispy Kreme. You can't miss it. Anthony really and truly is the best. And speaking of the best, this is year 3 now of an NC State podcast that I'm doing. And this is year 3 that Hayes Lancaster and Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority has decided to invest in me and invest his hard-earned money on sponsoring this podcast. So I appreciate Hayes for everything that he's done through the years and everything he could do for you. A lot of these products that I'm going to talk about, and if you've heard us talk about them on Ovius and Giglio, you realize these are things that we use. These are things that we believe in. These are people that we believe in their business and their products. So Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority, go check them out. It's bugsbite.com. That's bugsbite.com. Or you can old-fashioned 919-807-1951. Catch him on the Twitters at NoMosquitoNC. Hayes Lancaster, his group, does an amazing job not only with ants and termites, but mice and moisture under the house. Believe it or not, I've had, you name it, I've had it, and you name it, and Hayes' crew has been able to do the work. So now that I've gotten 2 of those sponsors out of the way, let's go to the beginning of our conversation. This is Kevin Keatts. We're at Oakwood Pizza, and I'm asked that we recorded right after they had gotten back from the ACC meetings down in Florida. And I was asking him specifically about how did it go in Florida and how did those ACC meetings go? Because you'll remember last year at the end of the basketball season, ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips wanted to have an improved talking points and to work on the league's image. So this is what Keatts says happened down in Florida. We'll start there.
We met. We talked about a lot of important things. I will share this. I don't share a lot, but one of the things is one of our deals is how do we get more teams from our league into the tournament. I don't think our league has been discussed enough. I think we need more preseason conversations about our league. If you look at any of the real early top 25, we may have 3 teams in there. I don't know how people can predict with the transfer portal and all the new faces and people leaving for the NBA. But that being said, why don't we have more teams in there? But just because it's a complete guess, if you ask me, for whoever's doing it.
So Jim Phillips said that would be a priority this offseason. And I don't know what you're allowed to tell me, what you're not. A lot of the coaches, though, I've talked to do want guidance when it comes to scheduling, want guidance when it comes to figuring out the net. What are some of these best practices? Are you able to share some of that with me? Is that something that was won over, or on a granular level, or is that something you guys will do probably closer to when you finalize your schedule and stuff like that?
Well, I think the message came from us is depending on what type of team you have,
Yeah.
how you schedule.
Yes.
And I think I've heard, up to your credit, I've heard you say that plenty of
Yeah.
times. Now, that being said, it's so hard for you to guess. In our situation, I can only talk about us. We're returning 2 starters off a 23-win team and 12 and 8 in the conference. Really good players. So now we've added some really key transfers.
Right.
And I know we'll talk about them, but how do they fit in? So it's also a guessing thing for us. Look at us, for example. We went to the battle for Atlantis
Last year.
The best thing that we got was we had a great game against Kansas. Win or lose, the game doesn't hurt you.
Mhm.
But it was a great field there. But our next 2 opponents were Butler, who didn't have a great year, and then Davidson, who was slowed by a lot of injuries but came along strong at the end. We played Vanderbilt on the neutral court.
That was big.
That was big because they became better.
That was big.
They got better. A lot of coaches looked at me when we talked about non-conference, and I said, I scheduled Furman. It was like, wow, you did?
Mhm.
And I said this, folks won't remember this my first year. We scheduled Greensboro at home, and everybody was like, man, it's the end of the world. We lost the game. It's a good team. It's a tournament team. So
Didn't hurt you.
it didn't hurt you.
Yeah.
So name recognition a lot with fans is the toughest thing. As coaches, we've gotten away from name recognition, and we're looking for quad 1 and quad 2 opportunities because that's how you get in the tournament. My
Where'd
job,
you learn that from?
I didn't learn it from you.
No?
I didn't.
I get no credit ever.
I just
Like
gave
ever?
I just gave you credit
For
about
what?
talking about. Depends on how good your team is, who you play.
Okay. All right. I'm just.
You want? I
I
can't
just
give
want
you all
like I
credit.
want like half credit.
I can't give you every piece of credit,
Okay.
but you do get credit.
I'll take that as a win.
And while you asking your question, I'm gonna eat my pizza.
Yeah, go ahead. Enjoy your food there. We are going to get into the guys that you've added because I feel like I need a tutorial. But first, I will give you a hard time. Did you wait until I was not covering you on a regular basis to play in Las Vegas? Did you specifically wait for that?
No, I knew the folks that you worked for before wouldn't give you a budget to go out there.
Okay.
I'm hoping that some sponsor,
So now I can make a move.
like Anthony,
Okay, we'll have to talk to him about making
will
a
help
trip.
you get to Vegas.
All right,
That's
that's
why we
fine.
did it.
I'm slightly mad at you about that. All right, so before we get into this year's team, I thought it was interesting. At the end of the year, I remember in Durham, over at Duke, you lose that game. Your team played really well in the second half of that game, and I thought, okay, this might be time to reflect. But it is hard. It was your final regular season game, and it is hard to reflect while you're in the moment. But I thought you kind of started a process there. You did it again at the ACC tournament, and then again before the NCAA tournament. But what you had said was you were humbled by last year and the decisions that you had to make after a really difficult season. And I'm curious, when you say that, when you say you were humbled by it, and because you had to make some decisions maybe that you didn't want to, or maybe thought you didn't have to previous to that, what kind of led you to that realization that, okay, what I did didn't work, and here's what I have to do. Here's my path. Like, how did you find that path to have the success to make those tough decisions? And then obviously to bring in the guys that you did with your staff, you're not a guy who wants all the credit. That's me. I like the credit. But for you, I know the guys that you brought in, Joel, Levi, Kareem, really pushed you in the right direction too.
Well, after every season, great season, okay season, bad season, I take a little time, I get away. And I go and look back, and I start off with how can I get better as a coach. Doesn't matter. I've been doing this for years. And then the other part of it is after I get through that part of it, I get back and I try to figure out how can I help our team get back. This year, I had great conversations with Boo. Me and Boo talked about a lot of things. The Chancellor and Boo were very supportive. they understood that it was more to our season not being great other than wins and losses. We had a lot of injuries. No one likes to hear that. I'm not going to use that as an excuse. I'm not even thinking about that. But at the end of the day, what I came out with is...
They hired you, though.
Yes.
And they've been with you every step.
Correct.
Randy and Boo.
Yes.
Right? Well, Debbie hired you, but when Boo came in, that's when you have a full understanding of what you went through, where you say maybe it's not just injuries, not just whatever.
Yeah.
So when I think about that and having that understanding, that's a bit of a... That's pretty rare in your business, right?
Well, I think, we've done it in 2019 with football.
Okay.
And we looked around. Dave, I spoke to Dave. How did you handle, you got to remember, for me at NC State, it was a tough year. We'd had 3 to start off 21 seasons. We had the COVID year. And so obviously everybody was losing their mind. I understood that there were different obstacles to the reason why we had the season. But the biggest thing I came out of it with, Joe, is that I needed different energy. Wasn't a knock on our staff. I really liked our staff that we had. It wasn't a knock on our current players. I thought our current players were really good. Some of them had individual good years, but we didn't have it as a team. And then I said, you know what, I have to go and redefine myself. I got to be humble. I've got to bury my head. You didn't see me a lot during that summer. I just went to work. I just said, you know what, I'm going to go to work. I wanted to bring in different stuff, different things for our team, different philosophies. We went with a different way that we scouted teams. Joel, Kareem, and Levi came in with different ideas. It was the first time in my career that I hired 2 guys that didn't have a personal relationship with, meaning that they had played for me or I've known them for a long time. I've known Joel and I've known Levi, and I went out on a limb and asked questions and had great conversation with them. And I felt like it was important to bring Levi back because he could always talk about his experience. And he played.
You needed that.
Yeah, we needed someone that could relate. Hey, hey guys, this is what it looks like.
For
state.
Yeah.
And then Joel had been several places, but he'd also been at Kentucky, which is known to produce a lot of pros, and a lot of kids want to hear that conversation. Yeah. And then Kareem was on a national championship roster with me, the team at Louisville, and we worked together for only 1 year, but I love what he brought to the table. So we ended up getting those guys, but also did something in recruiting that I've never done before. I went out and recruited 3 guys who could play the center spot. Most teams just want, one guy, so I wanted to have 3 guys on the roster. And so I said I recruited 3, I recruited 2. I brought DJ Burns in, Deshaun Morris, and had EB back. Yeah. And the reason being because, honestly, I thought that was a big part of our season when, we lost Manny Banks. I thought it was big.
Yeah. All right, that's the first part of our interview with Kevin Keatts. Bear in mind, I'm trying to figure this stuff out technologically wise. This is normally a Joe Ovius production. I rely on Joe, but that doesn't mean I can't do things on my own. Notably, we've been able to sell some ads in this venture of ours. So let's highlight, hey, maybe you are one of these new families. You want to come see your son play NC State basketball. Well, my hometown realty, myhtr.com, hometown realty. Barry Woodard's got more than 250 agents. When I tell you that my HTR is not fooling around, they are not. They can help you. Residential, commercial, rental, you name it. Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Selma, Atlantic Beach, Hometown Realty has the agents who will help you get the best possible home buying and selling experience. Again, check them out at myhtr.com. And of course, if you're buying a house, you might need someone to help you close on that house. That's where Josh Whitaker and Joe Hamer come in. Check them out at the most appropriate name that we have here on this program, and that is wh.lawyer. Yeah, that's their website, wh.lawyer. Check out Josh and Joe. They have more than 20 years experience. They have offices in Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Fuquay, Morehead City, Goldsboro, and Gastonia. Starting a business, selling a business, anything with family law, real estate closings, or if you're buying a house, check out Josh and Joe. Again, that is wh.lawyer. Now, we're going to continue with Kevin Keatts in our conversation from the Oakwood Pizza Box. And we're going to talk now about the players that he was able to add in the portal and a little bit about last year. And because I was struck last year with how reflective that Kevin was. And it did hit me when he said that he was humbled by the process from last year. So we'll get a little more in depth in that. And we'll also talk about the players that he's added in the portal. So we'll do that as soon as my fingers figure out how to make this
before last year. And I said, do you feel like you're coaching for your job? And I'm interested in your mindset because you said, I'm not coaching for my job. And I'm sitting here thinking, the shit you ain't. Like, you're always coaching for your job. But maybe that's the mindset that you have. It's not about 1 year. It's about you're always thinking, well, how do I do this in the best way possible? A little bit of a process versus a results mindset. But when you said that to me, it stuck with me. And I think it was October. And I'm like, you're not coaching for you. What are you talking about? Like,
and I still feel that way.
Right.
Because
that's like your baseline.
When you hire me in this position, I'm going to give you everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna work sun up to sundown. I'm going to put everything into it. I don't worry about me personally. My goal in this job is that when these kids leave me, they're going to be better fathers. They're going to be better husbands. I'm a character builder. I feel like that's important. And so I had to make it not so much about me and about what can we do to make NC State basketball, relevant again and be really good. And it really, truly, Joe, will never be about me coaching for a job. It's about me improving these guys, and hopefully I do enough where people see that what we've done and want me to be around.
All right, so I feel like
I'm gonna get another.
Yeah, I feel like the success that you had last season, a lot of it is contingent, and I'm not trying to give it to one person, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of it was contingent on Jarkel Joyner, in the sense that he was a guy who not only made plays for you, I felt like he made Terquavion Smith better, right? And that's really hard to do, especially when you're Terquavion, you go to the combine, he could have been a first-round pick last year. You think this kid's coming back, he's probably going to take every shot in the history of the world and is looking out for him, right? And then you bring in a guy, ball dominant in Jarkel, but he somehow unlocked the best of Terquavion. I say that to you. Obviously, you have to give them the confidence to play that way. But I also say that to you, like, that's pretty rare, right? For what Jarkel's kind of leadership gift is at that age, and also bringing him in and to be able to have that kind of connection with Terquavion the way that he did.
The MVP of our team was chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
That was it. And now, Jarkel Joyner may be the best kid that I've ever coached as a good player to be as humble as he is. He's such a nice young man. Like, I thought we hit the lottery with him coming in. But I'm going to spend time talking about Terquavion Smith because he could have, he was going to get drafted 25 to 35.
Yeah.
Nobody knew he was going to be a first rounder. He may not have been. But he loves his university. He loved our style. He loved playing for us. So, number one, him coming back was our biggest win, starting off in the offseason. Getting a guy like Jarkel Joyner, and then at the end of the day, DJ Burns became a great pickup too. But what made our success is those guys actually liked each other. But if you say, Coach, what's the biggest thing for your season? I would say those guys allowed me to coach them.
Sure.
And I really got after them. You know me.
Yeah.
Right here, I'm mellow, but during the games, I'm intense because I want to get the most. I never ask a guy to be, I don't want Jarkel Joyner to be any other person but himself, get the most out of it. But our culture and our chemistry that was created this year was our MVP. Well, you know this. You've covered me for now 6 years, and we give our guards a lot of freedom. Yeah. We have the ability to sell that. And so we don't have a hard time really getting good players at the guard position because of the fact that, hey, when you look at those guys, and I didn't realize this to the end of the year, Jarkel Joyner took 13 shots a game. Jaquavion Smith took 16. They both were around 17 points a game. If you fast forward a little bit and you talk about Markel Johnson, the way he played, and then Seaborn, who we turned into a point, I think it was an easy sell for him.
Okay.
He wanted to come to a place where he could play with freedom and be able to play loose, a heavy ball screen situation, and that's kind of how it worked out for him.
Does this slightly related?
Yeah.
Does this slightly bother you when people are like, well, Kevin's not a great X and O coach. They don't run a lot of stuff. I'm watching the NBA and I'm going, do you guys watch basketball? Like, the stuff that you do is the same stuff I see in the NBA, which is the same stuff you would tell a player, right? Like, this isn't. I get it. I'm too online for you, and I understand that you have an amazing gift to tune out all social media. But do you just want to tell people, like, please watch the NBA?
It doesn't bother me at all because when we win, it's a great offense.
Sure.
Now, if those folks who would say that will really do their homework, and we're typically 1, 2, or 3 in scoring in the conference every year. We play fast. All I heard before I got here was, who are Herb Sendek's an unbelievable coach. He wasn't fast enough.
Right.
And so it doesn't bother me. I think that comes with the territory. Like if I am concerned with some guy who I never have ever met is saying, then I'm
you're in trouble.
Business.
You're in trouble.
The way let me give you.
You leave me the worrying to me then?
No, I leave the worrying to you. And let me say this to you: if I don't call you for advice about basketball, I really don't care what you say.
Right. It's fair.
Is that fair?
Yeah. I hate comparisons, but Taylor.
No, you love comparisons.
No, I don't.
Yes,
I don't like them. No, I do not. Talip was the master at those. I let him handle all of those things. But Taylor is a scoring 2.
He's a scoring 2 who can play 1. When you look at the roster, I know we're going to go down.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of guys who can play multiple positions.
DJ Horn, Arizona State kid. Another kid, 12.5 points per game. A little bit undersized. I don't think he's a true 1.
2-1.
Okay. He can guard the 1?
He can guard the 1.
Okay.
He can guard multiple positions. What he did at Arizona State is really good last year, and making the tournament, played well in the tournament, and also, averaging almost 13 points a game. So he's going to be good. He's a local kid. It's important that, we get our local kid. I love what he's done. He went to Illinois State, transferred to Arizona State, and then obviously as a graduate, he's here. And so when you look at all of those guys, I wanted some experience. I wanted some older guys, and I want a mixture of roster. We got a couple freshmen. We got MJ Rice, who we'll talk about as a sophomore. We got Jaden Taylor as a junior. We got a couple of different graduate guys.
All right, so we're getting closer to figuring out what this team is going to look like and some of those best players. I really do think that Taylor and Horn will be those top 2 guards this year. There are other players on the roster, of course. Casey Marcel coming back. Be interesting to see if he can continue his improvement. And then DJ Burns. We're not going to get a lot into DJ in this conversation with Kevin, but I do look at DJ as someone who I just don't know if even Kevin thought that DJ could be as good as he was last year. And certainly in ACC play, I thought he was even better. The game slows down, obviously, a little bit in conference play. You have to be able to score in the half court, and DJ was able to do that for Kevin Keatts last year. You figure he'll be able to do it again. It's just a matter of how those parts come together. And again, interesting to hear Kevin talk about chemistry. I did think chemistry was a huge part of that group last year. And again, you're talking about Jaquavion Smith and in a starring role, but almost understanding that the team was better when everything went through Joyner. Figuring out all those assignments, figuring out all those roles, that's difficult, but that's the most important part of the early season. If you've ever been to PNC, of course, you've noticed right across the street there, 1200 Edwards Mill Road is the Breeze Through. They have all of your tailgate needs. However, Breeze Through has 17 locations throughout North Carolina, so you're never too far away from a Breeze Through, fueling your next commute, road trip, tailgate, or adventure. Hey, man, they're on Pool Road this summer. in Raleigh. So if you're trying to go over to Walnut Creek for shows, go get yourself a beverage, go get yourself some snacks, get yourself some ice for the tailgate, get yourself some cold beers. They're in Cary, Apex, downtown Smithfield, and Garner. Heck, they're even in Pittsboro, Hillsboro. So if you're going to the mountains, you can go see them in Lenore and Blowing Rock. The Breeze Through crew has you covered no matter where your summer plans take you. Big shouts to Adam at Breeze Through. Really appreciate his sponsorship. Next week, we're going to talk to Brennan Armstrong, NC State's new quarterback. And actually, we've been talking a little bit about DJ Horn, too, and one of NC State's new guards. Believe it or not, they actually have cards out already. Yeah, the Bowman University Inception set has autographed cards from Brennan Armstrong and DJ Horn. Go down to Oak City Sports Cards. Weston is the hookup. Weston has got all kinds of cards. Basketball, football, baseball, Pokemon, you name it, Weston has it. And great deals. It's important, too. If you're trying to get any value from your cards, you have to get them graded. And Weston can help you get your cards graded and get the best value for those cards and all. He's going to give you a fair deal. So check out oakcitycards.com. All right, it's kind of crazy that they already have cards, right, for kids and players in college. I know they're a little bit older. They're going into the 5th and 6th years for some of those guys, but still, it is kind of wild. Went down and opened up one of the Bowman Inception sets packs because I wanted to find the Victor Wembanyama. And then when I was doing a little bit of research and looking at the different players available, I saw that Brennan and DJ were both in that set. So pretty cool. Go check them out at oakcitycards.com. All right, so let's get into some more of the new additions to NC State's basketball roster with Kevin Keatts. Again, join me at Oakwood Pizza Box. Check out Anthony at oakwoodpizzabox.com. Friday, if you're in Raleigh and it's Friday afternoon, there's a 95% chance you'll see me at the Oakwood Pizza Box. Shout out to Ken, one of our great listeners and friends that we've made along the way. So let's get back to that conversation with Kevin Keatts. This is the last part. Again, appreciate everyone for checking us out. If you haven't yet, please follow on our podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google, you name it. Subscribe, follow, download, rate us 5 stars only, please. And then also check us out on YouTube. It's OVS plus Giglio on YouTube. You'll see all of our normal podcasts there, the big show, if you will. We also have 919 Vice, which is Joe's beer podcast, which will also get into some other categories this year. So a lot of good things happening on that YouTube page. Check us out there. Let's see if I can make a smoother transition to this.
You brought in, I look at the guys you're bringing back, right? DJ Burns, we know what he can do in the post. I'm sure he's not allowed to have any pizza this offseason. I'm sure that's high on your list of priorities. KC really blossomed last year, more so as a shooter. Was a real kind of 3-and-D kind of guy, which kudos to you. Got him to understand his role and how he can help you win basketball games. I look at Jaden and DJ and I burnt Horn and I go, okay, they'll be the 2 lead guards. That's what I see. Now, the wild card to me is Rice, right? McDonald's All-American, 5-star kid from Durham, goes to Kansas, probably has sugar plums and yellow brick roads in his eyes after they win the national title. It doesn't work out. So that's the biggest challenge for you, right, is how to get a super talented player like that. How do you get their confidence? How do you get them to realize, okay, it didn't work at Kansas, but that doesn't mean you can't be who you are with us?
MJ Rice, I think, and I told him and I told his dad this, I think he's the most disrespected guy on our roster.
Okay.
The guy's a McDonald's All-American. If you pull up any transfer portal top 100, you may find him in one of them.
Right.
Now, I could say the same thing about Jarkel Joyner. Jarkel Joyner ended up being a McDonald's All-American type of transfer for us. Top 20.
Yeah. But if there were 10 guys better than Jarkel who transferred last year, that's a lot.
It's hard to judge those 5 guys. But when you look at MJ Rice, he's physical.
Yeah.
He's strong. I really think the guy can play 1 through 4 in every situation. He can handle the ball. He can.
I was going to say, there's a little TD in there. There's a little CJ Bryce in there.
I think a little bit more.
Maybe more athletic than those 2.
A little bit more athletic. TD was athletic, and TD didn't handle it as well. Mm-hmm. I think he can handle it a little bit more. I think he's a mixture between those guys. But he's a strong, physical kid. unbelievable kid, works hard, and he's hungry. He and I are going to talk about this. I'm sure he's like every other kid. He had the idea he was going to go to Kansas. He's going to have a great year. He'd be one and done. Sometimes you had to reset. That doesn't mean that your career is over.
Yeah.
And I think he's got a wonderful opportunity with the guys that you put around him.
You just added a kid from Stanford. Were you just jealous that Carolina and Duke had transfers from Stanford? Like, he's a point though. Michael O'Connell is a point, right? He's a one.
I'm going to refrain from Michael right now. And
Oh, okay. We're not official yet?
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. Mo Diarra from Mizzou gives you, EB goes into the portal, you lose a guy. You've always told me when a guy goes in the portal, that just means I have to go find another. Diarra feels like a big who's got some experience to him. He didn't play a lot of minutes at Mizzou, but they're an up-and-down team, kind of play the same way you do. You see him as a guy who could play either with DJ or spell DJ?
I think Mo and also Ben
Middlebrooks from Clemson
gives us the ability to play a little bit bigger when we need to.
Okay.
I wouldn't assume that both of those guys will play mostly five. I think you will see lineups where you'll see Ben and Mo and DJ in there together.
Okay.
Yeah.
All three?
Not all three.
Don't get crazy.
Because if I did that, DJ would think he's a three. So that's right. Not all three.
He could stroke though a little bit.
Yeah, but not at the three.
Not the three.
But I love Mo. I love both him and Ben because they bring versatility to us. We were fortunate enough that summer school started yesterday. We started our first two workouts. We had one yesterday evening, and then we had one this morning. And Mo's just getting here, so he'll have his first workout. But Ben's got a little bit more skills than people would know. Yeah.
Well, he showed him against you.
When
someone lights you up like that, you just put a little note.
No, he just rebounded against us. I'm like, dude, you can't. What are you doing?
All right, so I'll leave you on this. Obviously, there's so much turnover in the ACC. There's much turnover in college basketball. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of different people about, the NIL this, the transfer portal that. And a lot of people, quite frankly, who have been in the game a long time, who say, you know what, it's not for me anymore. So how do you approach all of it, and how do you kind of mentally reset your own attitude towards what college basketball is now? Because I feel like there's way too many people clutching their pearls about what college basketball used to be and sitting there and lamenting and crying over spilled milk instead of kind of embracing what it really is now and the opportunity that's in front of you.
Coaches are creatures of habit. And when you break that and you break a routine, coaches hate that. I think it's time for us to adjust. And if you can't, that doesn't mean you're not a good coach. You're just not willing to adjust to the way it is today. And I think you have to be able to make changes. And in this situation, I may have a little bit more patience than other people. Some people drive them crazy that they got to bring in a different roster. I'm comfortable in that area.
Yeah.
Some folks, are upset that kids are able to make money off their name, image, and likeness. I'm not one of those coaches. I understand. I get it.
Yeah.
It's where we are right now. And so we have to deal with where we are right now. You have to coach them the way you are. That doesn't mean that you don't coach them, that you don't love them, and you don't hope that they do well. We're going to lose a lot of players in this program. But you can't tell me that you wasn't happy with Jarkel Joyner, wasn't happy with DJ Burns. When we had a few guys leave last year, you thought the ceiling was falling.
Sure.
It was over.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, now everybody's pumped up. Just wait and see. There are going to be great opportunities. We have a good program. I'm going to bring in the right kids. So when you see a kid leave this program, it's not because they are mad at me. It's just they may see another opportunity somewhere else. But that opens the door for us to bring in another kid to be able to come in and do some of the same things.
Do you think playing time is still the number one reason people transfer?
I think NIL is becoming really close to playing time. I really do. I think playing time drives it. But after you figure if you can play there, I think the most important thing to a lot of these kids and families right now is NIL.
All right. Well, good luck. Year 7?
Is
that right?
Year 7. And I'm sitting in here hanging with Anthony. Great place. and I'm having on your new show,
Yeah.
new and improved show.
Is it improved?
It is.
Okay.
Because you can now you can curse, you can say things that you normally wouldn't say. I know your dad's sitting over there and you better not say the wrong word right now. But hey, listen, I'll ask you this.
Yeah.
When your show, you and Joe show got canceled,
Yeah, we got fired.
whatever you call it,
I beat you to that one. I beat you to that sit-out landmark.
whatever you did, you came up fighting.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't take you long to decide what you needed to do.
Yeah.
It's the same way coaches do.
Yeah.
Like, we're humans, we're going to fight, we're going to have ups and downs, but at the end of the day, man, you're standing and you're working your butt off and you got a new opportunity, and that's what it's about. Like, we got a lot of stuff going on in our world right now, and, somebody has to be a positive influence. I think you are. People enjoy it, and for the people who know me, if you really know me, man, I care so much about these kids and this university, and I'm going to be here and I'm going to fight and I'm going to work and I'm going to put out put some great young men on the floor that you'll be proud of.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And he didn't touch his pizza yet. I'm crushing
He's
mine.
going to take a picture. He's got to get it so he can edit it the right way.
He's making his pizza. He made his pizza, but he's eating my pizza.
It's good.
And before we go, Anthony, come on over.
All right, I got to...
Come on in here.
You need the whole
Get a picture of the man behind this whole deal.
Yes.
the real.
Yeah, the guy who's made this happen, and he's done a great job, and we're gonna get a good partnership.
All right. Thanks again to Kevin Keatts and Anthony Guerra over at Oakwood Pizza Box. I got Oak City. I got Oakwood. You name it. We got it. And of course, all of our guests on all of our YouTube shows, all of our podcasts are brought to you on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. Big shouts to John Heister. You can check them out at heisterauto.com. They have 4 convenient locations in the Triangle. Get off your Keister, get down to Heister. Again, appreciate you guys checking us out this week. Again, we'll be out each week. We'll have a new Law of the Wolf podcast. Might have a different summer schedule. I know for sure we do have Brennan Armstrong ready to go next week. I got some texts from an old friend this week as well. Hint, hint, plays for a team that rhymes with the Ruffalo Rills. Hoping to line that up for you. But I hope you guys enjoyed. And again, make sure you follow, download, subscribe, 5 stars only. And if you're not a YouTube subscriber, please do. We'll have some great giveaways coming up too that include some of the great photos that you see, including the ode to NC State pain that Ethan Nyman took. That was the 2017 season opener, the loss down in Charlotte to South Carolina. So give us a follow, give us a download, give us those 5 stars, and I promise you we'll keep you entertained. And check us out next week when we talk with new NC State quarterback Brennan Armstrong.
I think my juices flow all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know as much as I know.
Right now, we've been able to stuff the stuff.
The curse is broken. NC State fans, finally. Finally.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
I mean, that's a triple play.
Wolfpack ain't for soft. It ain't for soft people.